Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Ahoy! Today is another day of Starcraft, but now we are entering a new age. Hey Ellie, are you ready to freshen up on your Starcraft lore? 'Cause I sure am. I have the actual book from all the way back in the Windows 95 era. Yes, I have the game manual. The cover is falling off, but it is functional. Yes, isn't it? Welcome, Jinx. It is time. That's okay. I don't... you seem fine to me. So, we're gonna start this off by reading the lore as described in the book. In the original Windows 95, as released in... Does it have like a... Yes, copyright 1998 by Blizzard Entertainment. We're gonna read through the history of Starcraft. And then we're gonna get into the actual Starcraft 2 game, and we'll get to compare. We'll compare what they say in here and then what they show in Starcraft 2. And we'll see how accurate it is, because I have a sneaking suspicion that it's not. I have a sneaking suspicion that they changed their minds and shifted gears a bit in order to suit a more Warcraft-friendly story. Because it turns out, the team that was writing for StarCraft 2 is also the team that was writing for Warcraft, for World of Warcraft, around the time Cataclysm came out, and Wrath of the Lich King. So, yeah. You know how that's gonna go. Let's get started, shall we? We have Ellie is here. We have Jinx, who has been very excited to join us, and I'm happy to have him. And I'm gonna do a little bit of reading. And I have prepared in advance. I have with me the actual... Here's the paper here. And we're going to bring it up on screen. We're going to wabam into this one. Ta-da! Okay. I'm going to have to, for the sake of being able to see it, I'm gonna have to turn off the chat box temporarily. This doesn't happen to have a dark mode, does it? No, unfortunately. But it is readable. So, let us have a look, shall we? Okay. So, we are beginning with the decline of Western civilization for the Starcraft Terran history. Although technology and world culture progressed rapidly throughout the 20th century, their advancements paled in comparison to the seemingly reckless leaps that would follow. By the end of the 21st century, mankind had seen bold and unprecedented changes within the world. Radical new technologies were surfacing at incredible rates, offering increased access to advanced computers and informational databases to even the most destitute nations on Earth. In the wake of the eradication of communism from the Eastern nations, nuclear weapons became available quickly in abundance. Their international power structure once defined primarily by the acquisition of capital and military superiority, was blasted apart as third world nations rose to challenge the economic and military might of the world's superpowers. As the manipulative sciences of cybernetics, cloning, and gene splicing rose steadily into the public forum, you remember that, right? You remember the gene splicing and cloning that brought us Elon Musk? Definitely. They knew what they were talking about back in 1998. Militant humanist and hardline religious groups challenged the rights of private interest corporations who profited from genetic experimentation. Like the Nestle Man, as everyone knows. Multitudes of people were being augmented with cybernetic implants, while others began to manifest slight physical mutations, ranging from heightened senses to advanced telepathy. These dramatic changes within the human gene pool caused widespread panic among many of the fundamental humanist factions. Technology continued to evolve and spread, and population rates soared. Near the end of the 20th century, there were 6 billion people on Earth. Where'd the rest go? Within 300 years, the population had grown to an estimated 23 billion. Population and a lack of natural resources and affordable fuels added to the fire as world leaders sought ways to stem the growth of their nation's inhabitants. Popular sentiment held that the world was plummeting towards an inevitable catastrophe of overpopulation, and genetic alteration swept across the globe. Meanwhile, as tensions rose around the world regarding the use of capitalization of cybernetics and genetic mutations, many core international economic systems folded in upon themselves and shut down. Horrific acts of terrorism and violence erupted between the corporate sector and the humanist factions, resulting in forced police actions across the globe. Irresponsible media coverage of these atrocious police actions spurred the already rampant civil chaos in many of the larger countries. Ultimately, the precarious balance of world power exploded into international pandemonium. Yeah, interesting. Never got to Mars, huh? In 300 years? Oh, I think it went off the page a little bit. Here, that's fine. You know what? I'm looking down here. That's not any better. That's not any better. I'll just have to keep up on this screen. What am I doing? Why am I reading it on a physical PD? Close the book. I have it in front of me. It's right here. It's right here. It's literally in front of me. I'm looking at it. Why am I reading it on a tiny-ass book over here when I could just be... Never mind. We'll just read it on the screen. I am such a goofball sometimes. Jesus Christ. On November 22nd, 2229, the United Powers League was founded. The UPL was to become the international incarnation... What? The ultimate incarnation of the vision of a unified humanity held by the now defunct United Nations. This new order encompassed and controlled close to 93% of the Earth's population, failing only to bring order to a few volatile South American states. You know, you can't get through the Amazon, too thick. It's still around 300 years from now. The UPL was founded upon the basis of enlightened socialism, but often resorted to harsh fascist police actions to maintain the public order. With its control lasting for nearly 80 years, the UPL began to devise a rigid agenda that would unify the various cultures of humanity for all time. Great lengths were taken to eradicate the last vestiges of racial separatism, and the Unitarian Commissions banned many of the world's oldest religions. English was designated as the common tongue of the planet, replacing many ancient languages that were subsequently banned in their native countries. And yet we have Stukov. Ultimately, Although regions were officially banned by the UPL, the organization held an almost zealous belief of the supposed divinity of mankind. This quasi-religious dogma, because we needed religion again, called for the immediate eradication of any non-vital prosthetics or mutations among the pure strain human gene pool. Hardline UPL proponents and scholars argued that genetic alterations, cyber technology, and the use of psychoactive drugs all led to the eventual degeneration of the human species. The UPL leaders formed a bold plan that would ensure humanity would persevere, unscathed by the tempting corruption of radical technologies, like medicine. The Great Purification, oh god! Like the bloody inquisitions that devastated Europe 800 years before, the UPL set in motion one of the harshest agendas ever conceived by humanity. Project Purification. This genocidal crusade was the government's final solution to the matter of cleansing humanity of its sports degenerate bed. I feel dirty reading this now. I haven't read this in 20 years. UPL troops scoured every nation on Earth, rounding up dissidents, hackers, synthetics, the cybernetically enhanced, tech pirates, grandmas, streamers, VTubers, everybody who worked at Blizzard, my dad, This planet-wide culling resulted in the eradication of nearly 400 million people. The world media, now under the strict control of the UPL, which is still funny to say out loud, downplayed the horrific violence and kept the general population of Earth unaware of the scope of the atrocities being committed. Oh sure, despite their heinous acts, the UPL succeeded in advancing many core technologies. Fields of research that had lain dormant for decades were opened again under UPL control. The space exploration programs of the mid-20th century, abandoned by the American and Russian governments due to the drastically reduced budgets and incessant political sabotage, became the basis for a new era of exploration for humanity. The coupling of cryogenic hibernation with warp drive technology resulted in the ability to travel amongst the stars. Within the span of 40 years, the UPL founded colonies upon the Moon and many of the other planets within the Terran solar system. During this period, a brilliant young scientist named Doran Ruth made plans to consolidate his power within the UPL. Uninvolved with the vulgarities of Project Purification, Ruth was obsessed with founding colonies upon the worlds found beyond the Terran sector. Ruth was convinced that the discovery of new minerals and alternate fuel sources on the outlying worlds would make him one of the most influential men on Earth. Through his political connections and personal fortune, Ruth was able to secure thousands of UPL prisoners to use as guinea pigs for his secret plans. The prisoners, slated for mass execution under the Edict of Project Purification, were instead transported to Ruth's private laboratories. Ruth, planning on sending the prisoners off to colonize the outlying worlds, had his science crews prep nearly 56,000 people for the long-term cryogenic hibernation. Cataloging the various mutations and cybernetic enhancements of the prisoners, Ruth input all the data. Yep, it's still there. All the data into a revolutionary supercomputer, the Artificial Teleempathic Logistics Analysis System, known as Atlas. Okay, you needed to have... anyway. The system, known as Atlas, then processed this genetic information and was able to predict which one of the prisoners should be able to survive the trial to come. Only 40,000 of the prisoners were deemed viable. That's actually a pretty good success rate, all things considered. Those 40,000 were then loaded up onto 4 gargantuan automated deep space supercarriers. As the prisoners were prepped for cryogenic cold sleep, alongside Willy Wonka and Walt Disney, The ships were loaded with enough supplies, rations, and hardware to aid them once they arrived at their scheduled destination. The navigation supercomputer was then programmed with the coordinates of the outlying planet Gantris 6. All seemed in perfect preparation, but even imagined that the prisoners would be launched to their almost certain deaths in the galactic rim. The Exiles and the Long Sleep. The Atlas was installed into the first of the supercarriers, the Nagelfair. 3 other carriers, the Argo, the Serengo, and the Reagan, were programmed to follow the Nagelfair as it launched into the void of space towards Gantris 6. Over the course of this journey, which later generations would call the Long Sleep, Atlas continued to monitor the humans kept in cryogenic stasis, evaluating the numerous mutations and enhancements found within the prisoner's gene pool. Okay, still doing that then. Atlas became aware of a powerful mutagenic strain that existed in some of their DNA. While this mutation was found to reside in less than 1% of the prisoners, that's okay, it seemed to augment the latent psionic potential within the human brain. I think 40,000 people is definitely a reference here, like to Warhammer maybe? Because Starcraft was originally supposed to be a Warhammer fan game. Anyway, Atlas calculated that should the prisoners survive in their new environment, many of them would benefit from this psionic mutation within a few generations. These findings were recorded and relayed back to Earth, straight into the logs of Doran Ruth. Originally scheduled as a 1-year trip, their voyage took a turn from the worse. At some point during the journey, the navigational systems linked to Atlas shut down. For whatever reason, erasing not only the coordinates of Gantris 6, but those of Earth as well. Oh no! The 4 ships, carrying their hapless cargo in stasis, barreled blindly through space at warp speeds for nearly 30 years. Eventually, the warp drive engines of the 4 supercarriers reached critical meltdown after 28 years. What happened? Okay, nearly 30 years. Sounds like nearly 29 years, because after 28 years of warp travel, the huge ships emerged into the real space near the edge of a habitable star system. Nearly 60,000 light years from Earth, their engines destroyed and their life support batteries nearly exhausted. The ships emerged, engaged their emergency protocols, and plummeted toward the nearest habitable world in the system. How convenient that they wouldn't have a failsafe the whole time. The Reagan and the Serengo? Crash landed on the world that would be named Umoja. The Serengo, which had been suffered massive systems failures during its atmospheric descent, crashed into the planet and killed all 8,000 passengers. Oops. The Reagan was more fortunate, making a controlled descent and landing safely. So it wasn't 40,000 people that made it to the Caprulu sector, it was 32,000. Once the ship had landed, and the cold sleep chambers were deactivated and the surviving passengers slowly awakened, 31,000, the passengers attempting to discern where they were and how long they had slept found that the Atlas system had somehow erased all knowledge of their journey from the computer banks. Some supercomputer, right? That's what you get for shopping at 2300 Best Buy. You know, it changed hands a few times, and now it's second Best Buy. The Argo landed upon the red world of Moria. Its passengers met with the same fate as those aboard the Reagan, as all information regarding the current status was erased. Only the passengers of the Nagelfair could access their ship's computers to discern their plight. They accessed Atlas directly and confirmed that growing suspicions that they would never, and here is a picture of a person, God of Thunder, pacifist, it's neat, your ass here. They would never see Earth again. For although they had landed in the temperate planet of Tarsonis, the Nagelfair was damaged beyond repair. Well, shit. The surviving exiles, now spread across 3 worlds, began to salvage their wrecked ships in an attempt to find refuge in their new surroundings. The Confederacy and a new world. The inhabitants of each planet worked to survive in what they deemed the new world. Unaware that their fellows also thrived upon the other worlds in the system, the vagabond Terrans made do with whatever meager resources they could find. Having lost the means to communicate with the interplanetary distances within the ships, when the ships were stripped for essential materials, the Terrans lived in isolation for decades. In a relatively short amount of time, the 3 isolated groups of Terrans found sister colonies upon their respective worlds. And although it would be at least 60 years before the 3 colonies would be reunited by space travel, which is alarmingly fast, each of them grew into prosperous, self-contained communities. Tarsonis, the largest and most technologically advanced of the colonies, soon developed second-generation sub-warp technologies. This allowed their ships to explore the myriad barren... planets of the surrounding star system, and eventually led them to find the other survivors in the long sleep. Once reunited, the 3 colonies benefited from mutual trade and commerce treaties. Although Tarsonis kept pushing Umoja and Moria to join in a conglomerated government, the 2 colonies steadfastly refused. We're not doing that again. We have a chance to do something that's different. The fleets of Tarsonis continued to explore the Terran patch of space that became to be known as the Caprulu sector. Founding prosperous colonies upon 7 other worlds within the system enabled the military might of Tarsonis to grow by leaps and bounds. A new government, christened by the Terran Confederacy, was founded by the Tarsonian colonies. The Morian colony, which had benefited from having the largest resource mining operations in the sector, began to fear that this new confederacy might attempt to move in and regulate their lucrative operations. Thus, the Kelmorian Combine was formed, a shady corporate partnership that would supply military aid to any mining guild that was oppressed by the Terran Confederate policy. Tensions rose between the Confederacy and the Combine, leading to the outbreak of the Terran Guild Wars. We remember that. The Guild Wars lasted for nearly 4 years, the Confederacy eventually negotiating peace with the Combine, although the Combine retained its autonomy. Monotony. Almost all of its supporting mining guilds were annexed to the holdings of the Confederacy. The Umojan colony, after seeing what blatant abuse the Confederacy was capable of, founded the Umojan Protectorate. This nationalized militia would work to keep its colony free of Confederate tyranny. In the final analysis, the Guild Wars assured the Confederacy its position as the dominating factor within the Terran power structure. Is there any corporate military contract that isn't shady? Asks Jinx with, for whatever reason, its very, very dark blue name that is hard to see on the black background. I don't know. I don't sign any of those, do you? I can't. I don't know. I'm assuming that the answer is implied to be yes. The might of the Confederacy continued to grow as its prospectors claimed world after world with their reckless expansionism. Pirate groups and radical militia organizations began to spring up more frequently as Confederate enforcement agencies continued to abuse their citizenry. One of the greatest examples was the revolt against Confederacy policy that was known as the Rebellion of Korhal. Korhal was one of the core Confederate worlds originally settled by Tarsonian colonists. A world of affluence. A world of affluence. Sounds like a sneeze. A world of affluence and enlightenment, Korhal contributed greatly to the military and technological advancements of the Confederacy. Although the Confederacy benefited from Korhal's continued productivity, the citizens of the colony resented their forced affiliation with the often corrupt Confederate senators. Attempting to retain their independence, the citizenry of Korhal instigated numerous riots against the local Confederate militia. The Confederates responded in kind and declared martial law throughout the colony. This only seemed to agitate the population even more, escalating the already rampant civil chaos. Confederates believed that if their treasured and pampered colony could turn against them, then all of their other colonies might revolt as well. It was decided that the crisis on Korhal would be ended by any means necessary. Welcome to being expendable. Put the stamp down. Expendable. All of you. Korhal would serve as a chilling example to all the other colonies of the Confederacy. A dynamic Korhalian senator by the name of Angus Mengsk took it upon himself to formalize the sentiments of his fellow citizens. Their cry for freedom was undeniable when Mengsk actively declared war against the Confederates, whipping the people of Korhal into a volatile frenzy. Very patriotic of you, thank you, Mr. Senator. The senator succeeded in capturing all the Confederate outposts in Korhal, issuing statements declaring that the Confederacy no longer held any claim over the world of Korhal. Mengsk succeeded in garnering the respect and admiration of many other struggling colonies. The Confederates, seeking to contain the situation, pulled their forces from Korhal and withdrew their fleet from the skies. Mengsk and the other world leaders of the revolt, believing that they had won their independence, celebrated their victory over the Confederacy. The Confederates, knowing that the perceived loss of Korhal might instigate other colonies to revolt, planned to retake the planet through subtler means. The Confederates sent 3 of their deadliest assassins, known only as ghosts. To eliminate Mengsk and his supporters on Korhal. The senator's decapitated body, along with those of his wife and young daughter, were found the next morning on the private balcony of his towering fortress-like headquarters. His head was never found. While the assassination did much to weaken the revolt on Korhal, it also fueled the fires that would eventually forge the greatest enemy the Confederacy would ever know. Arcturus Mengsk, an accomplished Confederate prospector and businessman, did not take the news of his family's death well. He became Batman. No, he didn't. He became a dick. Having been a prospector for years... Oh, that's hilarious. Can you imagine Mengsk with a pickaxe and a long beard? Arcturus knew of the despicable lengths that the Confederacy would go to in an effort to reach his objectives. Hey, Dark Age. We're reading about how terrible the Terrans were before the start of Brood War. He was uninterested with Mengsk was uninterested with greater sector politics and was even alarmed and somewhat embarrassed by the actions of his estranged father on Korhal. He never dreamed, however, that his family would be killed merely to prove a point. Their deaths stirred something inside the young Arcturus, leading him to forsake his promising future and follow a lonely path of vengeance. Rallying his various militant groups, I guess they are malicious, that had allowed his father against the Confederacy, followed his father against the Confederates, Arcturus succeeded in fashioning an impressive yet somewhat ragtag army. Mengsk's followers struck boldly at various Confederate bases and installations, costing the Confederacy billions of credits in men, machines, equipment, bullets, minerals. With rumors spreading of a secret alliance between Mengsk and the Umojan Protectorate, the Confederate government quickly decided on a final solution to the problem. A salvo of 1,000 nuclear Apocalypse-class nuclear missiles were fired at the planet of Korhal from the distant Confederate capital of Tarsonis. Over 4 million people were annihilated during the savage attack. In a single instant, the prosperous colony of Korhal was reduced to nothing more than a superheated sphere of blackened glass and stirring phantoms. Alright, hang on. You're telling me... What? Hang on. No, we can find out. One moment, please. Starcraft timeline. I want to see the timeline. Just to be sure I have the dates right. So, we have the Confederacy Korhal conflict is 2499. The arrival of the Terrans is 2259. Okay? So, we had 4 million people. And let me just... 22... I have a calculator. I am a calculator. But I also have a calculator, so I'm a calculator using a calculator. 2259. Okay. And the new year is 2499. Excuse me. 250 some years? And we went from 32,000 people to 4 million on one planet. Y'all were busy. Y'all were fucking busy over there. Wow. Wow. That's called being very enthusiastic. My god. In the course of 240 years, you went from 32,000 people to 4 million. That is a whole lot of love. You guys love your Terrans. Wow. Gotta do something when you're bored and going to war. Okay. Where were we? I lost track of my place. Oh, right, I was over here. Yes. The news of the Holocaust reached Mengsk, a secret base located on the borders of the Umojan Protectorate. With nothing left save vengeance, Arcturus and those gathered with him on that sorrowful day pledged a sacred vow to bring down the Confederacy at all costs. Calling themselves the Sons of Korhal, Arcturus and the renegade team of volunteers quickly made names for themselves as the most wanted fugitives in the sector. Striking silently and swiftly, the Sons of Korhal won countless victories over the Confederacy. But with every battle won in the name of justice, Arcturus was portrayed as a madman and a terrorist by the Confederate-controlled media. Most colonies refused to house or provide services to anyone affiliated with the outlaw group. Yet, despite seemingly overwhelming odds and scandalous public opinion, Mengsk never gave up the fight against Confederates. To this day, the Sons of Korhal continue to confound the Confederate enforcement agencies as they work to bring about the mission of liberation to the sector. We know how that went. We saw all of Brood War now. The various colonial powers and pirate militias continued to spar with the Confederate forces. Although many of the groups were constantly at odds with one another, the overall Terran presence within the Kaprulu sector continued to strengthen and expand. These petty squabbles would soon end soon enough as the Terran colonies found themselves caught in the midst of a struggle of epic proportions. Without warning, a fleet of 50 alien warships descended over the skies of Chowsara, an outlying Confederate colony. The massive ships opened fire upon the unsuspecting colony, continuing to decimate every single inhabited settlement on the planet. This unprecedented attack caught the Confederate forces by surprise, sending the shocked Terran fleets into disarray. Although they never encountered alien species of any kind, they rushed quickly to defend themselves against this new mysterious enemy. The Confederacy launched a flimsy counter... Oh, it does say clumsy. A clumsy counterattack against the alien fleet as it made its way towards the second Terran planet of Marsara. The alien fleet, identifying itself as Protoss, mysteriously withdrew its forces and spared the colony. Soon afterward, a second terrifying alien presence was discovered on the outskirts of Marsara. This new insect-like invader was very different from the Protoss that had attacked the colony a short time before. No Terran agency could account for this disturbing presence of not one but two strange alien races within their colonies. Overcome by a collective paranoid terror and encumbered by their own political infighting, the hapless Terran factions could only watch as an ever-increasing tide of alien invaders made their way towards the heart of the war-torn Terran sector. So that is the Terrans, and we go through their species overview. But we have more to learn on this episode 0. We have the factions. The Terran factions of the Confederacy, Nova Squadron, Alpha Squadron, the Pirate Militias, all that good stuff. But we have something else to go through. And I also have some music to go with. The Zerg History. The Grand Experiment. Driven to perfect their science of protogenic evolution, the ancient, enigmatic race known as the Xel'Naga traveled to the distant fringe world of Ire. This is the reason why I'm doing this before Starcraft 2. Because of these fucks. I don't like them. The vast jungles of Ire had produced the most advanced race the Xel'Naga had ever seen. Believing they could steer the race's evolution to the pinnacle of physical perfection, the Xel'Naga began to construct their protogenic experiments. The race that the Xel'Naga would eventually name Protoss advanced rapidly and gained what their creators deemed a distinct form of purity. A purity of form. Unfortunately, the Xel'Naga pushed their experiment too far. The inherent essence and sentience of the Protoss developed far too rapidly, leading to a bitter strife and division between them and their creators. The Xel'Naga deemed that the purity of form they sought to create had been sullied by a conflict of essence, and thus decreed the Protoss were in fact a failed creation. The Xel'Naga abandoned their children and launched themselves back into the void. The birth of the Zerg. Traveling thousands of light years into the burning core of the galaxy, the Xel'Naga eventually settled upon the volatile ash world of Xeris. The volatile ash world of Xeris. The Xel'Naga planned to continue their grand experiment of evolution, only this time they dismissed their tenets of physical form and focused chiefly on their pursuit of distinct purity of essence. Residing in their massive ships above the fires of Xeris, the Xel'Naga began once again to challenge the wiles of fate. The Xel'Naga were more successful with their second venture than they could have imagined. They labored to advance the evolution of the most insignificant life form of Xeris, a race of miniature insectoids known as the Zerg. Through Xel'Naga protogenic manipulations, the Zerg survived the torrential firestorms of their world and thrived. They survived it. They did it. They won. They became big and strong. They drank their milk. Although extremely small, worm-like, and possessing no ability to manipulate their physical surroundings, thus the larvae that we see in hatcheries, the Zerg adapted to survive. They developed the ability to burrow into the vulnerable species indigenous to Xeris. Feeding off the nutrients contained within the spinal fluids of their hosts, the Zerg learned to parasitically merge with their host creatures. Once they became capable of controlling the metabolic and anatomical processes of their host, the Zerg used their new bodies to manipulate their surroundings. As the Zerg incorporated more and more host creatures into their fold, they began to assimilate their various genetic strains and processes. Zerg chemistry began to mutate and adapt according to the volume of new genetic material being processed. However, as diverse as the range of host creatures became, there was always the undeviating drive to consume only the most evolutionary advanced species encountered. The Zerg were innately selective as to which species they consumed, ensuring at every stage of their development they were at the top of the proverbial food chain. Any race that the Zerg came across was deemed unworthy of assimilation, was eradicated to further purify the strains. The Xel'Naga soon made an alarming discovery. The original races assimilated by the Zerg were hardly recognizable after only a few generations of their inception. Somehow, the Zerg had developed the ability to supercharge and steer the latent evolutionary processes within the host creatures. The host creatures fell prey to the effects of the gradual physical mutations that caused all the various strains to grow armor-piercing spines, razor-sharp limbs, ultra-dense carapaces. Over a surprisingly short amount of time, the strains grew to resemble a terrifying and ravenous, unified race. The Xel'Naga, remembering all too well their failure with the Protoss was a result of pushing the sentience of the fledgling species too quickly, decided to follow a different path with the burgeoning Zerg. Attempting to waylay the potential hazards of differing egos, the Xel'Naga structured the collective sentience of the Zerg into a unified, amalgamated overmind. The overmind coalesced into a semi-sentient being that represented the primary drives and instincts of all the Zerg strains. As time passed, the Overmind developed the rudiments of personality and advanced intellect. God, this is so fucking cool! Although the Overmind directed the actions of every creature within the swarm, it did so through the use of a secondary agent. The Overmind created a new strain of Zerg that would facilitate the communication of its whims. These Cerebrits were massive versions of the original Zerg insectoids, and were engineered to process and carry out the various objectives of the Overmind. Each Cerebrit had a unique objective, such as defend the hive, scout for potential strains, produce more warriors, or eradicate all life forms. The Cerebrits were then empowered to build their own hive clusters and carry out their intended agendas. Over time, they developed personalities that corresponded to their primary drives. However, the Cerebrits were still genetically incapable of ignoring or overriding the commands of the Overmind. Yes, I love the Zerg. I think they're so cool in comparison to everything else here. The Zerg chain of command lengthened as their new races were incorporated into the swarm. Cerebrits began to use secondary agents to communicate their orders as well. For the defense and productivity of the immediate hive, the Cerebrit turned to queens to further extend their control over the swarms. That's interesting. The queens oversaw drone activity through the resource lines of hives and kept a vigilant watch over the budding spore colonies of the collective. That's why you need a queen's nest before a hive. In times of battle, Cerebrits called upon the Overlords to directly relay their commands of the myriad warriors of the swarm. Overlords not only transported Zerg warriors into the fray, but also directed their attacks against their enemies. Just as the Cerebrits followed the Overmind, the Queens and Overlords were incapable of disobeying the commands from their Cerebrits. This rigid system of command kept the swarms at peak savage efficiency. As the swarms continued to grow and strengthen, the Overmind turned its thoughts towards its own future. It realized that within a few short centuries, its race had assimilated all of the indigenous life upon Xeris. It knew that to further evolve the swarms, the Zerg would need to leave Xeris. The Overmind began to reach out with its senses, looking for something, anything, that would provide them with a transport from the world. That opportunity soon arrived. A race of gargantuan spacefaring life forms passed through Xeris system. Spacefaring life forms, huge ones. Space whales, and the Overmind called to them. Drawn to the barren world by this beacon, they were quickly assimilated by the swarm. The inclusion of super dense hides and the ability to exist in a vacuum bolstered the genetic pool of the swarm. Soon the Zerg warriors were conditioned to survive the harshness of space. Yes, that's right. They grabbed a genetic grabbed a genetic trait and put it into every single one of their units. That's why Mutalisks can fly in space. Because they flap their wings because they're happy, not because it moves them. This pivotal moment in the development of the Zerg was not lost on the Xel'Naga. The Zerg, despite having an extreme physical handicap, had succeeded in not only surviving, but in retaining the purity of their terrible overriding essence. The Xel'Naga knew they had achieved their goal. The fall of the Xel'Naga. Immediately afterward, the pride of their accomplishments and achievements proved to be the fatal downfall of the Xel'Naga. The Overmind, while slowly expanding itself into the void of space, became aware of the Xel'Naga world ships hovering ominously over the skies of Xeris. The Xel'Naga, having kept a constant watch on the Overmind, were horrified to find that it had actually severed their psychic link, effectively hiding itself from their view. With its need to consume driving its minions into a lustful frenzy, the Overmind launched its now spacefaring Zerg at the unsuspecting Xel'Naga. The ancient race did whatever they could to stem the tide of the ever-advancing Zerg onslaught, but in the end, their efforts were in vain. Wave after wave of Zerg swarms hammered the reinforced hulls of the Xel'Naga ships with no signs of abatement. Within only a few hours, the Zerg overran the defenses of their creators and laid waste to the Xel'Naga fleet. That seems very familiar. As the greater whole of the Xel'Naga race was consumed by the raging genetic whirlwind of the Zerg, the Overmind gained the knowledge and insights of its masters. Oh God! The Overmind processed thousands of sentient beings into itself, causing it to grow far more powerful than it had ever imagined. It learned the secrets of the sacred Kadarin crystals and began to incorporate the energies of these crystals into its own. Through the intimate knowledge of evolution and protogenic physiology gained from the Xel'Naga, the Overmind became a doctor and passed its dissertation. It was able to increase the level of sentience in many of the Zerg strains, while keeping them fully under its control. Wait, that means... Oh, interesting. So the Zerg do have sentience within them. They're just still under the control of the Overmind. Through dissecting the memories of the Xel'Naga, the Overmind were made aware of the myriad races that had one time or another been influenced by the ancient race. The Xel'Naga had kept a detailed genetic history of each one, giving the Overmind a clear understanding of their respective strengths and weaknesses. More importantly, the Overmind learned of an exceptionally powerful race that lived near the galaxy's fringe, known as the Protoss. The Overmind knew then that the Protoss and the Zerg would eventually be caught in an inevitable apocalyptic conflict. I want the Overmind to be a nerd and to have big, goofy glasses and a top hat. The determinant. The Zerg left the lifeless, burning world of Xeris. Yep, we'll get to that. And laid waste to every planet they found along their path toward the Protoss homeworld. As they progressed slowly through the trackless dark between the stars, the Zerg assimilated only the strongest of the races they came across. The Zerg swarm continued to build steadily, ever increasing in size and power. As they progressed, the Overmind sent out numerous deep space probes. They have probes, okay. And scouted ahead of the swarm, searching new worlds to plunder. Despite innumerable victories, the Overmind was greatly disturbed. The Overmind was aware that the Protoss had become a highly advanced psionic race, able to bend the warp the very fabric of reality to their whims. It's not the actual warp. We're not in Warhammer. We're not in Warphammer. Although that would be pretty cool if it was called Warphammer. It sought a way to counter the awesome might of the Protoss, but found no answers among the genetic strains it devoured. That is very... I understand your pain. The Protoss OP. On the verge of despair, the Overmind made an amazing discovery. One of its deep space probes had relayed the location and vital statistics of a race that occupied a series of nondescript worlds, right under the shadow of the Protoss. The new race, called Humanity, was mere generations away from developing a formidable psionic power. But the Overmind also knew that the humanity was still in its infant stages, hardly capable of defending itself against the ravenous Zerg. Although short-lived and seemingly frail species, the Overmind knew that humanity would be the final determinant in its victory over the Protoss. If it could assimilate the psionic potential of humanity, the Overmind would have the ability to combat the Protoss on its own terms, and that's why we got the Queen of Blades. That is the reason why. That is the reason. This right here, that's the one. Thus, the Zerg swarms slowly made their way toward the burgeoning world of humanity. The journey lasted for 60 years, but eventually the massive extended Zerg swarm reached the outskirts of the Terran sector of Caprulu. Sending in a scouting brood, the Overmind soon discovered that the humans dwelt on over a dozen different worlds within the sector. That's right. The Terrans lost 9 of the 13 worlds because of the Protoss and the Zerg. Seeding the atmosphere of the planet called Chowsara with rudimentary hive spores, the Overmind began to unfold its master plan to enslave humanity. The hive spores gradually drifted down to the surface of Chowsara and saturated the ground with their denuding alien toxins. Although the human colonists had no idea that the Zerg had subtly infested the topsoil of the world, Zerg minions began to descend to the planet's surface to construct their bizarre structures and hive clusters. Once the infestation of the colony was well underway, the Overmind sent its voracious children to the nearby Terran worlds, insidious and elusive in their tasks. The agents of the Overmind soon infested the colonial worlds of Chowsara, Marsara, Brontes, and Dylar 4. Shout out to Dylar 3, unnoticed by the denizens of these colonies. Yet, from out of the cold void of space, a mighty fleet of Protoss warships emerged from to combat the Zerg invasionary forces. The Overmind, anxious to learn what it could about the enigmatic Protoss, decided to let them hamper the initial infestation process. It decided to allow them to fire upon the planet, which implies that the Overmind could have stopped them from doing so, which is terrifying. Good God! Holding its ravenous warriors at bay, the Overmind watched as the Protoss razed the colony of Chowsara. Apparently, the Protoss were aware of the high spores that have already despoiled the planet, and seeking to prevent further infestation, incinerated all of it. Such decisive action pleased the Overmind, who could only marvel at how the Protoss wrought absolute devastation with such grace and power. Knowing that the coming conflict would be the greatest challenge of its existence, the Overmind pulled its forces back to observe how the Protoss and humanity would react next. That is fucking cool! That is so cool! I love it! The Overmind is a great villain that is beautiful. And the Zerg is so interesting. We have the Zerg life cycle. The Zerg do not train or manufacture their military like other species. Instead, a central hatchery produces larvae, which in turn metamorph into the Zerg various species. This system of creation is both an advantage and a drawback, as all Zerg production is centralized. They have the creep, regeneration, control. Zerg structures are effectively giant organs, like I described in my Let's Play, making a Zerg colony a living creature. The whole thing, all the bases, are connected. To provide the required nourishment and infrastructure, the Zerg produce a living carpet of biomatter that the invading forces have dubbed the Creep. Fun fact, in the Chinese professional play, removing creep in order to make it recede is called burning the carpet, which is adorable. They also call Zerglings dogs, which is also very cute. So, now we have to, and by the way, if you want to look up this PDF, it actually says, in a couple of these, like the Mutalisk has had little change from its original form. The Mantis Screamer, or the docile Brontolith that became the Ultralisk. The herbivore herds of Slothian were turned into Hydralisks. You can read about how all of these creatures came to be and where they came from. Where does the Queen come from? The Queen does not produce larvae, but she has earned royal status from the ability to spawn other parasitic creatures. I see. Okay, it doesn't say, but for other ones, yes. So, for the last one, because I know nobody cares, but we have the Protoss. The Protoss history. The failed creations and the firstborn. Although only fragmented documentation remains, ancient Protoss texts speak of a highly advanced race that ruled over the thousands of worlds in the galaxy, tens of millions of years ago. This enigmatic race, known as the Xel'Naga, or Wanderers from Afar, was rumored to have seeded and cultivated thousands of various species on the cold and barren worlds within their domain. Protoss traditions hold that the Xel'Naga were a peaceful and benevolent race, utterly consumed with the study and propagation of sentient evolution within the universe. Nothing is known of the origin of the Xel'Naga. How do we know less about the Xel'Naga here than the Zerg do, who came afterward? Because the Overmind read all their books and became a doctor. They were not native to the galaxy over which they held sway. Oh, so they're from a different galaxy. Gotcha. Okay. Understood. Obsessed with fashioning the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog, the Xel'Naga labored to create a creature that would be defined by a distinct purity of form. For thousands of years, they carefully steered the delicate evolutionary processes of their budding species. Although their protracted experiments produced many intriguing deviants and mutations, the races that the Xel'Naga cultivated always fell short of their enormous expectations. Despairing at last, the Xel'Naga focused their frustrated efforts on the most promising of their engineered worlds, Ire, a massive jungle world on the galaxy's fringe. That's right, they are the ones who engineered the planet. It's like a petri dish. Okay. It had born a race of highly advanced beings, These beings were incredibly adaptable to harsh natural conditions and climates. Their strength and speed were unparalleled amongst the other races known to the Xel'Naga. The race had developed a rudimentary tribal society based upon group hunting and warrior rule. But did they have mouths? No. The answer is no. They did not. But they did have nipples. I'm not kidding. I swear to you. It's so weird. Their most distinct aspect was that they communicated with each other through a very complex method of instinctive telepathy. See? They didn't have mouths, but they did have nipples. We'll get to that. We will see them. We do have nips. They show them on screen in Starcraft 2. I will point them out to you. It's not lewd, I swear. It allowed them to operate communally with striking efficiency. The Xel'Naga were pleased with the progress of their latest creation and conceded that the new race was the first of their experiments to evolve beyond the feral constraints of baser life forms. To signify their ascension in the galactic order, the Xel'Naga gave the new race the name of Protoss, or Firstborn. The early Protoss lived in harmony and seclusion upon the world of Ire for hundreds of generations, never knowing the Xel'Naga who watched over them from afar. Although the Protoss were the most advanced species to arise, the Xel'Naga were still unsatisfied with their slow progress and saw fit to drive the Protoss' evolution even further. The Xel'Naga spent another millennium subtly guiding the steps of their children, eventually succeeding in leading the Protoss to the state of total sentience and awareness. Jinx to Black asks, why have nipples? The Firstborn gradually became intellectual and introspective, achieving great heights in not only their cultural advancements, but also personal, individualistic advancements as well. Exhilarated by their seeming success, the Xel'Naga made themselves known to the Protoss. What's up? I am your father and mother at the same time. It's complicated, never suspecting the chaos that was to come. The Aeon of Strife. The Protoss civilization spread across the face of Ire only within a few thousand years, eventually culminating with the warring tribes settling under a centralized rule. In an attempt to discern the full extent of their creation's evolution, the Xel'Naga had come down from the heavens and integrated themselves with the Protoss culture. The arrival of the Xel'Naga seemed to bring the scattered tribes even closer together as the Protoss, overjoyed, looked to their wizened for new truths and insights. So it sounds like their technology is Xel'Naga based. The Xel'Naga marveled at how driven the Protoss world were to plumb the mysteries of the universe around them. The Protoss harbored an insatiable lust for knowledge that led them to develop radical progressive strains of science and meta-neural study. As their understanding and personal awareness grew, the Protoss became exceedingly proud and began to see more value in personal achievements and communal advancements. The more successful tribes began to isolate themselves from one another, each seeking to define their own social roles, not within only their immediate society, but within the greater universe as well. As the tribes grew further and further apart, the Xel'Naga reeled in frustration. They speculated that perhaps they had pushed the evolution of the Protoss a bit too hard, marring the purity of their creation. Many Xel'Naga believed that Protoss had lost their greatest strengths, as individual egos arose to overpower their once primary communal link. The tribes, driven by individualistic pursuits, rekindled their own ancient principles and rites in order to set themselves even further apart from their brethren. Where once there was only awe and reverence for their creators, suspicions began to brew amongst the tribes regarding the interests of the Xel'Naga in their affairs. As months passed on Aiur, the Protoss began to shy from their Xel'Naga teachers, and each tribe cultivated wild and unsubstantiated rumors that their creators' supposed treachery. Attempting to completely sever themselves from the rest of their race, the tribes began to lose the connection of their primal psychic link. This breakdown in the inherent empathy of the Protoss for one another did the most to dissolve the last remnants of unity and brotherhood amongst them. The severing of the psychic link was also the greatest sign to the Xel'Naga that the Protoss had tragically lost the most fundamental element of greatness. Believing that they had made a grave mistake in pushing their failed creation too fast, the Xel'Naga made to depart Aiur forever. The suspicious Protoss, at hearing of their creator's departure, reacted with a rash, violent attack upon the Xel'Naga's world ships. Hundreds of Xel'Naga were murdered by the raging Protoss, who only decades before had worshipped them as gods. The Xel'Naga fended off the Protoss and sorrowfully launched the greater number of their warships, their regular, they were just scientists, ships into the trackless void beyond Aiur. The tribes, confused and abandoned in their wake of their departure, turned on each other in despair. What followed has been recorded as the bloodiest, most violent civil war ever recorded in galactic history, the Aeon of Strife, which I'm assuming is based on them not being able to communicate with each other because they removed their psionic link. Right? That is they can't evolve without an existing apparatus to use them. Yeah. Tell that to Blizzard. Although, let's see. The raging battles waged during the Aeon of Strife were fought by countless generations of Protoss, all bent on perpetuating the guilt and blame for their abandonment. Although few records actually remain from this lost period of Protoss history, it is clear that the Firstborn devolved into frantic legions of merciless killers, driven by centuries of unthinking hatred towards their brethren. Entire generations of Protoss lived and died without ever knowing the legacies of their past or the primal psychic bond that their forefathers had once shared. It is legend that even the greater landmasses of Aiur were devastated by the epic struggle between the maddened, and here's the Protoss doing something, and it looks like he's bonking his head against the other guy's knee. It's a formal Protoss greeting. Hi. Hey, what's up? It seemed that the whole of the once glorious Protoss culture was precariously poised upon the precipice of total annihilation. The path of ascension. Although there were many different factors that led to the ending of the Aeon of Strife, one unprecedented discovery is cited with bringing about the radical changes of the Second Age. As the ancient vicious blood feuds continued to take their toll upon yet another generation of Protoss warriors, one eccentric mystic stumbled upon a pivotal insight. The mystic, whose true name has been forgotten in the annals of history, was eventually named Kas, or He Who Brings Order. Having studied the archaic, forbidden teachings of the Xel'Naga, unearthed ancient monolithic artifacts known as the Kandaren crystals. The crystals, left behind by the Xel'Naga, were fundamental in facilitating their protogenic experiments. Kas was able to channel the primal energies of the crystals through himself, allowing him to access the primordial psychic bond of his race. For the first time in thousands of years, the primal chord of the Protoss was tapped. Flooded by emotions emanating from every member of his race, Koss became aware that the Protoss had not lost their primal link, but had forgotten to attune themselves to it. Horrified by the warring emotions that had been tearing his race apart for countless centuries, Koss began to search for a way to heal the searing pains of his people. Gathering many young Protoss together, Koss was able to teach the new generation of warriors how to access their latent psychic bond. These young ones, suddenly free to distance themselves from the horrendous strife around them, were able to see clearly that the conflict of their race was folly. They believed that the Zelmaga had been right to abandon them, and that their racial essence had been corrupted by the rise of ego. They were indeed a failed creation. They maintained, however, that Reaver's OP, and that because of their inherent failure, it was not their own doing. They maintained, however, that because their inherent failure was not their own doing, the inner conflict of the Protoss and racial turmoil was baseless and hollow, also Reaver's OP. Koss developed a radical system of psychic progression that he hoped would discipline the new generation and keep them from repeating the tragic mistakes of their ancestors. This theory, known as the Kala, or Path of Ascension, called all Protoss to forsake their own whims and strive to reunify their once mighty communal race. Yes, that's right. The Kala is a theory called the Path of Ascension, which is a religious vow. The greatest hope of Koss was that the Kala would instill a new sense of essence and vitality within the Protoss race. Slowly, many Protoss gave up their age-old feuds and rallied behind the ever-growing legions of Kalai, which are, again, a religious group. This marked the true turning point of the Aeon of Strife and led to the rise of the Second Age. As terrible wars began to subside and the tribes once more began to heal and bond, the premise of the Kala began to permeate even the deepest, most fundamental roots of Protoss society. They saved each other with the power of talking without mouths. The Kala primarily meant to define a rigid system of behavior. Can't stress this enough. Also called for a shift in tribal society to a caste system. All members of the Protoss tribes were split into 3 castes: the Judicators, the Kalai, and the Templar. This shift worked to remove the last remnants of old hostilities between tribes and strengthen the resolves of the Protoss to embrace a new beginning. The Judicator caste was comprised of Protoss elders and statesmen, with its prime responsibility being the governing of Protoss under the dictates of Kala's law. Or, as we said in the Let's Play, the Kala's law. A culinary recipe. The Judicator Assembly was ruled over by a small group of elders known as the Conclave. The second caste, known as the Kalai, comprised the greater bulk of Protoss society. The Kalai class represented the driving industrialists, scientists, workers, probes, mineral, who continued to rebuild their homelands after the harsh conflicts of the Aeon of Strife. The third caste, called the Templar, were holy warriors and defenders of Ire, who followed the Kala's disciplines to achieve ever-escalating pinnacles of psionic power. Under the new leadership of the Conclave and their Judicator Administrates... Is it Administrates? I hope so. And armed with the zealous might of the Templar, the Protoss soon rebuilt their decimated world of Ire into a bustling paradise. With the growing prosperity leading them to rediscover many of the sciences and studies they had lost, the Protoss learned to travel amongst the stars. Over the course of only a few hundred years, Protoss conquered hundreds of worlds within their corner of the galaxy, and spread the fruits of their great civilization to many of their more advanced races they encountered. None of which we will see. All in all, the Protoss inadvertently succeeded in reclaiming an eighth of the worlds once presided over by the Xel'Naga. Just 1/8. In keeping with the strict codes of the Kala, the Protoss took upon themselves the great burden of the Deul, or Great Stewardship. Following the ancient traditions of the Xel'Naga, the Deul called for the Protoss to protect and safeguard the lesser races that lived under the shadow. Unlike their predecessors, however, the Protoss refused to manipulate or interfere with the evolutionary processes of the lesser races under their protection. That actually is correctly cited in the Legacy of the Void campaign. They're ever vigilant against xenomorphic threats. The Protoss kept a close watch over their unsuspecting wards, but much like the Xel'Naga many millennia before, the Protoss kept their presence hidden from the lesser races in their care. Many hundreds of species grew and thrived in the various worlds within space, never knowing they were secretly guarded from on high. The Dark Templar. Although their new enlightened civilization grew and thrived, the Protoss Conclave kept a dark, shameful secret hidden from the masses. There were a few dissident tribes who refused to embrace the Kala, believing that they were still individual entities. Their individual identities could be erased to further promote the Judicator rule. The rogue tribes were not hostile or militant, but they believed that the Conclave's communal agenda would be the eventual doom of their race. Thus, the knowledge of the rogue tribes was kept hidden, for the Conclave believed that their aberrant influence might spread throughout Protoss society and destroy all that Koss had accomplished. Convinced that the rogue tribes constituted a palpable threat to the new order, the Conclave ordered the Templar forces to eradicate the dissidents. The Templar, led by a young warrior named Adun, which we heard a lot, that his name is definitely on the the non-existent lips of every zealot, could not bring themselves to slaughter their wayward brethren. Instead, the idealistic Adun attempted to hide the rogue tribes away from the sight of the Conclave. Adun believed that he could convince the rogues of the Kala's truth by teaching them how to manipulate their own latent psionic power. Although their powers equaled those of the mighty Templar, the rogues still refused to submit their passionate, free spirits to the Kala. Without the disciple of the Path of Ascension, the powers of the rogues spiraled out of control and unleashed horrible, devastating storms across the fields of Ire. The Conclave, shocked that the Templar had not destroyed the rogue tribes, attempted to salvage the desperate situation. If the Conclave punished Adun and the Templar for their insubordination, it would be forced to publicly admit the existence of the rogues. Thus, the Conclave decided to banish the wayward tribes from Ire forever. The Templar under Adun were sworn to silence, as the rogues were loaded into an ancient but functional Xel'Naga ship and launched into the void of space. Forever after the rogue tribes would, put a comma there, the rogue tribes would be known as the Dark Templar. Why aren't you replaying? Did we lose internet? No. Why isn't it playing the music? It stopped. Don't be Protoss. Alright, there we go. Over time, the legend of the Dark Templar spread across the face of Ire, sparking the imaginations of many young Protoss. To show their disdain for the Conclave and their Judicator lackeys, the Dark Templars ceremoniously cut off their nerve cords, effectively severing themselves from the basic communal link that all Protoss share. This is the Dark Templar. You can tell because he's got short hair. Or she. It could be a she. The Protoss, they use their psi blades to cut their hair. It was widely believed, rumored, that since the Shadow Hunters were cut off from the primal cord of their race, they were forced to draw their psionic energies from the dark, cold void of space. This tale, above all others, worked to incriminate the vagabond warriors for all time. Hunted and feared by their own brethren, the Dark Templar led a solitary existence within the spacefaring vessels. Traveling through the cold void of space, they never abandoned their love for ire, and thus worked to safeguard their long-lost homeworld any way they secretly could. And then we have the humanity and the coming of the Zerg. The Protoss bore silent witness to the portentous arrival of humanity to their edge of space. That's right, the Caprillo sector is on the edge of Protoss space. Although the Protoss were uncertain of the vagabond origins of the Terrans, they knew these volatile, short-lived humans would prove to be interesting study. 2 centuries passed as the Protoss watched over the budding Terran colonists. The Terrans had succeeded in building up rudimentary colonies, plural, on over a dozen worlds within the Protoss borders. Although the technology of the Terrans was inferior to that of the Protoss, they adapted to the worlds upon which they lived and thrived. The Protoss found the Terrans to be fascinating, and that they constantly fought against one another. That's definitely not something that they could draw upon in their own history. Definitely not. That's just so weird and interesting. And yet they flourished and advanced their technologies and industries by leaps and bounds. The Protoss were alarmed at how quick the Terrans were to access and drain the natural resources from their various worlds. It seemed to the Protoss that the Terrans had no respect for the delicate balance of nature, as they quickly, recklessly spread from one world to the next, leaving nothing but barren wastelands in their wake. Bidden by the strict dictates of the Deul, the Protoss were forbidden from directly interfering with the reckless Terrans, no matter how much they wished to do so. This disjointed relationship lasted for many years between the two races, yet a routine Protoss scouting mission found evidence that spelled certain doom for the hapless Terrans. The High Templar Tassadar, accompanied by his renowned Templar expeditionary force, found a number of small biological constructs floating near the borders of Protoss space. Upon close inspection, Tassadar deduced that the rather nondescript alien organisms were in fact deep space probes. Although Tassadar could not discern their point of origin, it was clear that they were heading towards the Caprillo sector of the Terran colonies. Tassadar brought the living probes back to Ire for immediate study. The strange aliens were unlike anything the Protoss had ever seen before. The respective physiologies of the probes were apparently engineered for deep space travel and reconnaissance. In an attempt to discern their primary quarry, the Protoss focused the energies of the Kadaran crystals through the tiny minds of the probes. The Protoss were shocked to discover that the alien probes quickly reacted and responded naturally to the powerful energies of the crystals. Their shock was garnered from the fact that the creatures were born of the Xel'Naga's protogenics could properly process the energies of the great crystals. More alarmingly was the vague thought stream that kept repeating over and over: find humanity, eradicate, learn, evolve. The Protoss speculated that the probes of the heart were the harbingers of a bold new threat to their section of the galaxy. If the creatures were engineered with Xel'Naga technologies, they would be very advanced and extremely powerful. It seemed clear to the Protoss that the new race constituted a palpable danger to all living beings, and that whatever the greater bulk of the race was, it must still be searching for the unsuspecting colonists. The Protoss began to send out advanced scouts to scour the surrounding spaceways for any sign of the alien invaders. Tassadar claimed that under the dictates of the Deul, it was the chosen responsibility of the Protoss to protect the races under their watch. Assuming burning the planet is an interesting way of protecting them. And I guess Tassadar didn't really believe in that, did he? The Conclave, however, argued that the worthless race of Terrans had already been infested by the new threat. They must be put to the flame and eradicated. A great debate began between the Adjudicators and the Templar as to how they should involve themselves in the Terrans' imminent plight. The one fact that both castes agreed upon was that the creatures were undeniably engineered through Zelnaga sciences, and if they were indeed created by the Ancient Ones, the Protoss had best be on their guard. It was agreed to send Tassadar and his expeditionary force to monitor the Terran worlds and attempt to discern the severity of the impending danger. To this end, Tassadar led his command ship, the Gantrathor, and his massive escort of Protoss warships toward the Terran sector of the Caprulu. Upon arriving in the Terran sector, Tassadar's scouts found evidence that the mysterious alien threat had already begun to take its toll upon the Terran colonies. Upon closer inspection, Tassadar found that its fringe world colony of Chowsara had indeed been infested by alien organisms. Yeah, and we know the rest. I don't think I have to say the rest, right? At the last page, he's like, oh shit, he burns them all, and then he regrets it later and leaves, and now we have the entire rest of the Brood War. So, I have for you, before we begin the story of Starcraft 2, because there are new viewers, ultimately, who do not know the events of Brood War as we do, we must help them to bear witness. So, I bring to you, upon this day, I bring a summary, a recap that is extremely helpful and will definitely not confuse anyone, in the form of a cartoon that we shall enjoy. So here you go. Story. Right there. Of StarCraft 1. For those who missed it.
Evolution complete.
I'm the man who's gonna kill you someday.
There you go. There's StarCraft 1. Ta-da! Oh, I guess so. Fine. There's one more. Yes, okay. Okay, well that's Brood War. Ta-da! Hey, you're all caught up. Everybody understands? Yep, We're all on the same page. Okay, I'm ready. So, it is time. Ah, yes, of course. Over there. Okay. Okay.
They say a man never really knows himself. Until his freedom's been taken away. I wonder, how well do you know yourself?
Prisoners, step forward onto the platform.
Convict 626. Murderer. Pirate. Traitor. Today, you go free. But, as you'll soon learn, even freedom has a price.
Combat suit sealed and locked.
You'll carry your prison with you. That armor will be your new cell. Make no mistake. War is coming. With all its glory. And all its horror. Mr. Findlay, your freedom awaits.
Hell, it's about time.
It's time! Give me just a quick second to bring the... where are you guys? Chat box. Boop. There. Okay, now you can talk again. Let's go! The fringe world of Marsara. Recolonized in 2502.
And in other news today, Emperor Arcturus Mengsk held a press conference commemorating the end of the so-called Brood War some 4 years ago. Our own Kate Lockwell was on the scene.
Emperor, the threat of a new Zerg invasion is still very real. But instead of expanding our fleets, you've squandered trillions on hunting down has-been rebels like Jim Raynor.
Jim Raynor represents a clear and present threat to this dominion. He is an unscrupulous, lawless revolutionary bent on spreading fear and dissension across the sector. He and his ragtag band of miscreants have instigated open rebellion across 6 separate worlds and stolen vast amounts of the very methods.
Thank you. Fun fact, this is all done in-engine. These are made in the Starcraft editor. This scene is in the RTS map right now.
This criminal will be brought to justice very soon.
It ain't over till it's over, you son of a bitch. Adjutant, are my troops ready yet?
Your forces are prepared and awaiting your orders, Commander. Uploading tactical data now.
Good. About time we kick this revolution into overdrive.
Yes, they have individual flies you can place in the campaign editor.
Backwater Station is the center of Dominion logistics on Marsara. Destroying Dominion authority here will cripple Emperor Mengsk's operations throughout the planet.
Yeah, so, I know we just talked about the Confederacy. The Confederacy were completely wiped out because Mengsk used psi emitters to lure the Zerg there and kill them all. That's how we have Kerrigan, because she was left there to die, and she became the Queen of Blades because she was a ghost. The Overmind got exactly what he wanted.
Adjutant, what do you got for me?
Dominion forces have set up a logistics headquarters in the town of Backwater Station. This has become the hub for all operations on Marsara. The Dominion recently pulled troops out of the city, and they are now under strength.
Are the locals cooperating?
The people of Backwater Station are known to be anti-Dominion, but they lack weapons and organization.
If I can take that headquarters away from Mengsk, it'll cripple him on this planet. Prep my ship.
Alright, let's go. And yeah, that was all in engine. That was, you'll see when I get in there. I can zoom in.
All right, boys. Let's show the locals they don't need to fear the Dominion.
That's a good question. It's because StarCraft 2 is king.
Sell me. Sounds like a plan. Time to man up. Keep your intervals wide, your eyes open, and your asses covered. Let's move. You can count on me.
Let's see if I can...
What's the plan?
There's Jimmy.
Time to man up. Break it down. Raiders roll.
Don't go up that road.
Don't tell me what to do. You're
Sounds
not my
like
mom.
a plan.
To my knowledge.
Raiders roll. You can count on...
Raider. Kill him!
Talk to me. Sounds like a plan. Time to man up. What's up? Sell me.
Keep a close watch on your neighbors. Descent will only slow our progress.
Commander, destroying the Dominion holoboards will help incite rebellion against the Dominion.
Ah, yes. Actually, I
Sounds
think...
like a plan.
Yeah, it's a little bit loud. Hang on. Okay. How about right there?
Getting mighty tired of seeing Meng's face. Blast it. You can count on me. Raiders roll.
Alright.
Where is everyone? To man up. You can count on me. Sounds like a plan.
My neighbors. My family.
This is starting to look ugly.
You may notice that controlling these units is a lot easier now,
Sounds like a plan.
if you watch my Brood War playthrough.
Commander, a large Dominion force is gathering in the center of town.
Then it's time to call in that special delivery we talked about.
Waiting on.
What's the plan? Raiders roll. Talk to me.
Thanks for the assist. We're with you, Raider.
Get out of here.
Sounds like a plan. What's the plan? Break it down. Time to man up.
That's what.
No sacrifice is too great for safeguarding our communities.
Kick ass. Sounds like a plan. What's up? Talk to me. Time to man up.
Your freedoms must be protected.
This is bad.
They
Time to
have
man up.
executions,
plan.
firing squad.
You can count on me. Time to man up. You can count on me. Sounds like a plan. Finally, there's the locals.
You'll all be given a meal when you reach the dig site. My brother went off to the mine last week. He disappeared.
So this game came out in 2011, by the way. I just want to point that out there.
We got a runner.
They're shooting civilians.
Or no,
Okay.
no. This is 2010. This is 2010.
Raiders roll. Time to man up. Count on me. Raiders roll. Minsk has a lot to pay for.
Thank you, Rainer. We knew you wouldn't forget us.
2012 is
There's
the
more people
expansion.
still being held up ahead.
I'll see to them. The plan. What's up?
Marshal Rainer. Been a while since we saw you around here.
We're with you, Raiders!
Let's go!
You can count on me.
This is a restricted area. New insurgents are under arrest. We got your back, Rainer.
You can count on me. Time to man up. Sounds like a plan. Raiders roll. Time to man up.
I didn't think we could fight them, but we can.
Now you've got the weapons and the resources to do it. Remember, Minsk can only control you if you let him.
Yeah, we have come a long way in lip syncing. Blizzard has a different way of doing lip sync than mocap, though. I think they have a database of mouth movements for all of the different sounds that can be made. Similar to how court records are formed, I feel. That's just a guess on my part, but I don't actually know how they do their lip sync. There's a little device that court reporters actually have as people talk with their testimonies, where instead of doing it letter by letter, it's sounds. It's phonetic.
You know, for the most wanted man in the sector, you ain't that hard to find. I had to see it for myself. Little Jimmy Raynor, the people's hero.
Tychus Finley. Nice suit.
Pays to be prepared.
I heard they put you on ice. Life sentence. What? To give you time off for good behavior?
That's right, old buddy. I'm a model citizen now.
So to what do I owe the pleasure?
Just a friendly business proposition. Do you even know what the Dominion are doing out here?
I'm guessing you're about to tell me.
Digging up alien artifacts, old buddy. Your boy Minsk has gone crazy for them. But I got a contact that'll pay top dollar for every artifact we liberate from the Dominion.
I guess I can hardly pass that up now. Can I, Tychus?
Partners then. 60-40.
70-30. My way. Feels like old times already.
Old times.
All right.
Call me curious, but how'd you get out?
Well, I busted out of my cryo freezer while they were transporting me to New Folsom. Oh, I must have killed at least a dozen guards with my bare hands.
Yeah, I've heard this one before. But you left out the part where you walked on water. Made off with the warden's daughter.
Don't you get uppity with me, boy. I heard all about you becoming a big-time freedom fighter while I was away. What happened, Jimmy? The war for truth and justice get too much for you.
I ain't licked yet, Tychus. And I promise you, Minsk is going down, one way or another.
This is Donnie Vermillion, live from the UNN studios on Core Hall. We've got a breaking story for you. Let's go live to our own Kate Lockwell on the fringe world of Marsara. Kate?
Thanks, Donnie. Rebel Jim Raynor has reappeared in a big way. He's attacked a Dominion depot near Backwater Station, seizing weapons and distributing them to the local populace.
Kate, I bet the locals are pretty nervous about having a notorious outlaw in their neighborhood.
Actually, Donnie, the people I talked to seemed really encouraged by the...
You heard it here first. Jim Raynor terrorizing the locals on Marsara. When we return, were kids using skin hats?
Keep talking, pal. I'm just getting started. Sarah. Sometimes I think it would have been better if you just died that day.
Oof. Brutal.
This looks recent. This your doing, Jimmy?
Folks in these parts are ready to fight back against Minsk. Guess they just needed a little push.
You still take this whole revolution thing pretty serious, then?
Everyone needs a hobby, Tychus.
Thanks to your actions, Marsara is now in a state of open revolt against Arcturus Minsk. Ex-convict Tychus Findlay has revealed the Dominion came to Marsara to excavate an alien artifact. Seizing the artifact will strike another blow against the Dominion and generate funds from selling it to Findlay's mysterious contacts.
Okay.
This old outpost don't look like anything special.
Keep your shirt on, son. Dominion engineers been digging out here for months. See that crane? They're getting ready to move the artifact they found off-world.
Well, I'll be damned.
See? You gotta have a little more faith, Jimmy.
All right. Time to give the Dominion a wake-up call. Let's smash that base and haul that baby out of there.
All right. We get to use a base now, and you get to see how much different the gameplay in StarCraft 2 is. Because I'm putting it on fastest possible speed.
Bad news? This been who wants some? You got it. What's going on?
Not enough minerals.
We'll need a lot more Marines before we take on the Dominion outpost. Train them up at the barracks. While we're at it, extra SCVs will help us harvest minerals faster. Train them up at the command center.
SCV ready. Sure. You gonna give me orders? Outstanding. SCV ready. Ah!
Check this out. Bunkers can now raise and lower, so you can build walls.
SCV ready. In the rear.
Okay.
Go ahead. SCV ready. Go, go, go!
Buildings can now be put on the same hotkey as long as they're the same type of building. buildings can now be queued up in the production queue. SCVs will rally if clicked on the mineral and start immediately saturating the base. And all the hotkeys are now completely accessible from just the WASD block, as it were.
In the rear. Gateway, coming.
The doctor is in.
Who wants some? Sure. Go ahead. SCV ready.
Not enough minerals.
Yeah, working on minerals here.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Medics are still here. Medics are still good. Let's rally to the medic to keep producing.
Go, go, go! Big job, huh? Yep. Who wants some?
Additionally, we have tech labs on top of barracks as a new kind of add-on. Tech labs let them produce more complex units normally only produced at the academy.
Commander, the Dominion is attacking the rebel base to the southwest.
Good. That'll keep the Dominion off our backs.
Those folks need our help, Titus. There's no way we're leaving them to rot.
SCV ready. Of course. Been waiting on you. You can run some. You guys sure are a welcome sight. We're with you. Just tell us where you want us.
Welcome aboard, boys.
It's Rainer's boy.
Pathing has also been greatly
Rainer's
updated
the man.
and improved.
Been waiting on.
Dominion can go to hell.
Yes, sir.
Bad guys are that away.
Boy. SCV ready. Armed and who wants some? This better be good. Armed and ready.
Warning. Dominion Hellions approaching.
Been waiting on who wants some. This better be good. By the numbers.
Move in!
Nice job cleaning out that bunker, Jimmy. Between your boys and my skills, we are gonna go a long way together. This better be good. I'm on it. What's going on? By the numbers, boys. Go, go, go! Waiting on you. Who wants some? SCV ready. Armed, this better be good. You gonna get me armed and ready. This better be good. You want a piece of me, boy? By the numbers. You gonna give me orders? Go, go, go!
We have Hellions that have replaced the vultures in this area. But we will see vultures later.
Who wants some? Been waiting on you. Armed and ready. This better be good. You want a piece of me, boy? Let's rock. You gonna give me orders? By the... You gonna give me orders?
Isn't it?
Crane controls accessed.
The music is so good.
Overrides. Crane control established.
That particular theme song is called Hell's Angels.
Get out of here.
So good. Beautiful.
And I'm bringing them home to you.
So who's your mysterious buyer, Tychus? Who are we supposed to hand this artifact over to?
A bunch of eggheads I ran into called the Mobius Foundation.
Mobius? They're a legitimate research group. Why the hell are they talking to you?
Soon as your boy Minsk made it illegal to trade in alien goods, they got desperate. And you know me, Jimmy. I am a great patron of the sciences.
Oh, one other change that they actually implemented for StarCraft 2. In StarCraft 1, you had unit tags based on size and weapon type. So, concussive damage would do different weapon damage. Different damage amounts to different size classes. In this game, we have debuff tags. So, units will have weaknesses, like they are light or biological, and certain attacks will deal extra damage to them. The worst offender is armored. There's a lot of anti-armored in this game, and a lot of armored units. So everything kind of dies really quickly. But also, it's way easier to make a huge army, and for them to just murder everything because the pathing is so good. It's actually a problem. They don't know how to fix it.
What's this? I heard them Zerg got burned out by them creepy Protoss a few years back.
It's been 4 years and they're still finding burrowed dens out in the wastelands.
Well, a trophy like that's gotta fetch a good price on the black market. Up for some hunting, partner?
Knock yourself out, Tychus. Me? I've hunted enough Zerg for 2 lifetimes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the unit selection limit in StarCraft 2 is 300.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's go now to Kate Lockwell with an update on Jim Raynor's violent uprising.
Thanks, Donnie. Raynor's clearly widening his list of targets. He's attacked a Dominion archaeological dig and possibly seized a dangerous alien artifact.
Emperor Mengsk spoke on this subject earlier today.
I'll show you.
There's no telling what kind of havoc these supposedly innocuous relics might wreak upon our worlds. Anyone found in possession of these items will be dealt with to the fullest extent of the law.
Look on the bright side, partner. You're a wanted man either way.
Thanks, Tychus.
Shocking, Kate. I imagine civilian casualties
No, you'll see.
as a result of Raynor's terrorist actions.
Actually, the only civilian deaths appear to be collateral damage from overzealous Dominion security forces.
Thanks, Kate. You heard it here first. Jim Raynor, killing women and children on Marsara.
I'll be making a lot of units in the next mission, and you will see how well they did with StarCraft 2's UI. It's beautifully simple.
Have to say, Jimmy, you turned into a real impressive fighter. If I was old Minsk, I'd be running scared from you too.
You really mean that, Tychus?
Nah, I was just kidding.
Oh, Tychus. Everybody loves you.
What was it like, Jimmy? Fighting them Zerg?
All the scrapes we were in back in the day, all the narrow escapes, none of it compares to how terrible they are, Tychus. You don't know what real fear is until you got 1,000 of these sons of bitches barreling down on you.
That's not ominous at all.
With the artifact secure, you need to wait for transport at Backwater Station before you can leave Marsara. Transportation is on the way. Caution is advised. Dominion security forces may succeed in tracking the artifact to the station.
I've got transport coming to pick us up. All we gotta do is sit tight.
Don't sound too hard. I figure we earned ourselves a little R&R.
Commander, I'm detecting a massive concentration of Zerg biosignatures landing at the abandoned dig site.
I should have known it. Damn you, Tychus.
I swear, man, I didn't know nothing about no Zerg.
Given their current course, the Zerg will overrun this location within the hour.
Yeah. We gotta hold out long enough for extraction. If we man the bunkers and hold those two bridges as long as we can, we just might stand a chance. We're gonna have a real fight on our hands here.
He has no idea.
I've been in plenty of holdouts before.
Not against the Zerg, you ain't.
He got no idea, Tychus. And Raynor doesn't either. Raynor's used to the Brood War mechanics. How unfortunate. For them.
Bad news? Who wants some? We could use some help here. SCV ready. 10-4. I'm on it. Let's go. Affirmative. You can move by the... This better be good. SCV ready. Want a piece of me, boy? Huh? In the rear. SCV ready. Bad news.
Add-on complete.
SCV ready. Want some?
Here they come.
Here they come. Lock and load.
Enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
Armed and ready.
Not enough minerals.
Gangway coming through.
Get some SCVs repairing those bunkers.
SCV ready.
The doctor is in.
Alright.
To anyone hearing this message, we're pinned down near Backwater Station. Please assist.
This better be good. By the numbers, boys.
Ah, yes.
I feel you. SCV ready. Bad news.
Upgrade.
SCV ready. Been waiting on you.
Thought we were gunners there.
Ah, yep.
Additional supply
Yep.
depots required.
Been waiting on you. Want some?
Insufficient Vespine. Additional supply. Insufficient Vespine gas.
Come on.
Additional supply depot.
Multiple air bogies detected. ETA, right the hell now.
Got on 4. You can see my control groups are actually listed over here. On this top bar. These are clickable now.
Been waiting on you. SCV ready.
Insufficient Vespine gas.
Yep, sorry mutalists.
Doctor is in.
You're useless now. Used to be a good unit. Not anymore.
Oh yeah. SCV ready. Gangway coming through. Affirmative. You gonna in the rear with the gun. You want a piece of me, boy? Mark. By the number. What's going on? SCV ready.
Rally points are also visualized.
Additional supply depots required. Additional supply depots required.
SCV ready. Go, go, go! Bad news?
No, we're alright.
Huh? In the rear. SCV ready. Armed and ready. SCV ready. I'm going. What's going on? Big job, huh? Mayday, mayday! We're trapped by the Zerg! They're burrowed all around us! If you can reach us, please help! By the number, want a piece of me, boy?
Alright, check it out, Siege. 1, 2. See? It expands that way. So we have one row of units.
The doctor is in.
And then we have another block entirely past that.
We could use some help here.
Nah, you guys are fine. I believe in you guys. You are the Marines. You will win.
Man, are you a sight for sore eyes? Hold up, we're coming with you. This better be good.
Okay. Let's build some more bunkers.
Additional supply depots required.
You gonna give me your SCV ready? This better be, huh?
Upgrade.
We could use some help here.
Get up. Okay, just stand there for a while.
The doctor
We could use some help here. Armed and ready.
You can do it! New Zerg unit, the Roach. Deals extra damage against light units.
Armed and ready. What's up? This better be good. Big one, you gonna give me orders?
standing by.
10 more.
Still not enough production.
Ah, you hear me? Go ahead. Big job, huh? You want a piece of me, boy?
Where does it hurt? Not a problem.
Oh.
So serious.
What happened to my... You know what, that's fine. That was very strange.
Please state the name.
Keep at it, boys. The ride's on its way.
Boop. Ah, I see.
This better be good. Big wait, what's going on? You go ahead. You want a piece of me, boy?
Base is under attack.
Armed and banded.
Want to get some new cities to repair.
You're the boss. Man the rear with the gear. Jordan. We need immediate support. Hostiles all around us. Is anyone out there? Thanks for the assist. We're with you, Rainer.
Can we max out? Is a great question. Are medics campaign only? Yes, because we get medevacs, which can fly, load units up into them like dropships, and boost across the battlefield. That's what you get in multiplayer.
Gangway, coming through. Armed. We could use some help here. Go ahead. Who wants some? This better be good. Go, go, go! What's going on?
Gonna need another SCV to help build more of these supply depots.
Gangway, coming through.
Additional
Do
supply
I-
depots required.
Do I have enough Marines?
Piece of me, boy. Yes, sir. By the
Base
we better
is
be
under
some help
attack.
here.
Base is under attack.
Who wants some?
Put you on patrol.
And ready. Big one. You want a piece of me, boy? By the number.
Not enough minerals.
This better be good.
Not enough minerals.
Let's go! Here I come, Zerg! Do what you gotta! No, here I come!
Mineral field depleted.
This better be good.
Oh, oops. No.
Orders received.
Different mouse sensitivity.
Base is under attack.
Armed and ready. Some help here.
Hold out just a little longer. We'll be getting out of here soon.
You sure does. Can't wait. Armed and ready. Been waiting for what? We could use some help here. You want a piece of me, boy? By the numbers, boy.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Mineral field depleted.
Go, go, go!
Woo! Okay. Keep it moving, boys. Up the ramp. Here we go.
Not enough minerals. Base is under attack.
Alright, that is a lot of hydras, but I think we can handle it. Yep, we can handle it.
Not enough minerals.
Alright, now it's a bit much.
Not enough minerals.
Well, we got more boys at home.
You rang?
Armed and ready.
Just casually walk in and kill all of their infrastructure.
Base is under attack.
Ah.
Mineral field depleted.
This better be good.
We got more. We just need a few medics, too. Ah, running out of minerals, though.
The doctor is in. That's a serious outbreak.
Gangway, coming through. You gonna give me orders? Can't wait.
Tauren Marines now? No. It's just for fun.
By the you gonna give me orders? This better be good. Go, go, go!
Alright, let's go. I'm bored.
Insufficient Vespi.
The doctor is in.
Base is under attack.
No.
Base is under attack.
Commander, this is Matt Horner. Just hold on. Cavalry's on the way.
Take your time, Matt. No rush.
Base is under attack. Mineral field depleted.
Want a piece of meat, boy?
Cavalry's arrived. Anyone still alive down there?
Good to see you, Matt. Welcome to the party.
Glad we made it in time, sir. Now let's get you boys out of there.
Mineral field depleted.
Okay. This cinematic expects me to be significantly more overrun. Yeah, a little bit. Going up the ramp might have been a big mistake. Needed to refill my Marine count first. But that's alright.
Damn, Jimmy. You've been holding out on me.
Cutting it pretty close there, Matt.
Never left you hanging before, sir.
Fair enough. Just get us the hell out of here.
All batteries, concentrate forward firepower. Spin up drives 2 and 6. All hands brace for warp jump on my mark. Mark.
What the hell happened? We ain't seen the Zerg in years. Why attack Marsara now?
It's not just Marsara. You need to see this.
Zerg Swarm launched a full-scale attack.
Devastation spread throughout all Outer Rim planets.
Sustained heavy losses.
Casualties in the billions.
Minutes ago, the Zerg attacked a Dominion military research facility.
Wow, we got billions now. This is just 4 years after Brood War.
Exclusive video footage confirms the Queen of Blades is in fact leading the swarm.
You got fucking billions. Billions of Terran babies. Where'd they come from? 260 years. Billions of babies.
We always knew she'd be back, but what's she after?
She's come to finish the job.
As far as I can tell, the best possible explanation is cloning, because cloning tech was a thing. That's the only thing I can think of, is that you're building clones out of a barracks. They're literally just clones of the Heavy
There's no telling
from
what the Zerg will throw
TF2.
against us this time. Sir, we need to make sure our hardware and
Or
munitions
soldier,
are up to
I
the
guess.
challenge.
Yeah, I'll check in with Swan down the armory. Knowing him, he's already got upgrades for us.
I hate to ask, sir, but is there a reason that convict's still on my bridge?
Easy, Matt. Tychus is one of my oldest friends. He helped me out of a real bind a few years back. I owe him.
Well, your friend has a criminal record as long as...
Mine? Believe me, if Tychus Finley wanted me dead, I'd be dead already.
Understood, sir.
Alright. You may also notice that mission length is much shorter. It's an average around 20 minutes.
One hell of a ship you got here, Jimmy. How'd you get a hold of a floating palace like this?
The Hyperion was Meng's flagship back in the day. Me and Matt decided to borrow her when we parted company with him. This old baby's seen us through some tight spots.
Speaking of tight spots, Tychus, why are you still wearing that suit on my bridge?
Yeah, what, you bust the zipper or something?
Okay, so I might have had a little help when I broke out of prison. Let's just say it came at a price. I get to stay locked up in this suit till I pay off all my debts.
And who's collecting those debts? Who sprung you?
They're Mobius boys, of course. I didn't just run into them in a museum, you know. They want them artifacts something fierce.
Your debts better not bite us in the ass, Tychus. Covering for your shenanigans ain't part of the deal. Just how bad is it, Matt?
Zerg are attacking all over the sector, sir. Mengsk pulled the fleet back to protect the Dominion core worlds, leaving the fringe worlds to fend for themselves. It's a nightmare.
There's no way we can stop an alien invasion with one capital ship and a handful of volunteers.
Best we just stay clear, partner. We can earn ourselves a fortune working for Mobius while this whole thing blows over.
You don't get it, convict. This isn't gonna just blow over. The Zerg won't stop until we're all dead.
Don't worry, Matt. We ain't sitting this one out. But we're not exactly in tip-top shape either. We'll earn some cash and build up our forces so we can make a difference when it counts.
By the way, I learned about how Terran Marines never seem to run out of bullets. They have a microfabricator in all of their Gauss rifles. So they just craft more bullets inside of them. It's so funny to think about that. By the way, do you know this voice actor?
Sir, any chance you'll get the lab up and running soon? That'd be great.
You might, because he's played a few parts in DC Comics.
Hey, everybody, our glorious leader has returned. Hey, man, what's up, cowboy?
What do you got for me, Swan?
The usual, building up our standard forces.
Bringing my troops and hardware up to speed, huh?
Yup, you can add upgrades for their tech right here on the console. But building an army on the run ain't cheap. You brought back credits this time, right?
Look, I know money's been tight, but that artifact we just picked up from Marsara is gonna solve everything.
Yeah, I've heard that before, brother.
It's different this time.
Yeah, I heard that one too.
So I guarantee you Swan is not a dwarf, okay? He is not secretly a dwarf with a hammer forging things in the back while we're playing through, we're fighting a war. I guarantee you he's not from deep under the mountain. Although he may definitely look like he belongs there, he is not from there.
Upgrading what we got is all well and good, but when are we getting new hardware? A lot of gaps in our inventory right now.
Sometimes we take a job with some kind of new hardware, and I get a schematic for it so we can make more of them. The plans for other stuff, we gotta either beg, borrow, or steal.
Definitely, probably not. Not a dwarf. Okay. So, this is how the campaign works. We get credits every time that we finish a mission. We have special objectives that get us more credits. We use those credits to get upgrades for our units, including Stim. Incredible. We also can get combat shields. They get little shields on top of them. It's not like... You see how there's no shield on this Marine? They get like a little medic shield that you see here. However, I have another idea. I'm gonna get the Neo Steel Bunker upgrade, which increases the capacity from 4 to 6. And I want projectile accelerators. Which increases the distance that their bullets can travel, because the windows of the bunker increase the range of the bullets. It's very silly. I love it. In fact, you know what? I might as well. This bunker uses a high-density neo-steel frame, leaving more room inside for additional infantry without increasing the overall bunker footprint. While ordinary bunkers can hold a maximum of 4 infantry, neo-steel bunkers can house up to 6 infantry in fortified combat. Wolf Industries has developed a bunker port that houses a magnetic rail. This device dramatically accelerates all projectiles coming out of the port, increasing the range of all weapons fired from the bunker. Does not increase damage at close range. Unfortunate.
What's our general status, Matt?
We've picked up a distress call from the planet Agria. There's a colony there under attack by the Zerg. Your convict buddy Tychus lined up a mission retrieving another artifact. It's on a Protoss shrine world called Monolith.
Oh, absolutely Agria.
Any ship receiving this transmission. The Zerg are invading Agria. The Dominion abandoned us here. We're just a small farming colony. We've got to evacuate before we're overrun. If you can hear this message, please help us.
Yep.
Incoming transmission.
Thank you so much for responding to our distress call, Commander. I'm Dr. Ariel Hansen, and I represent the people of the Agria colony.
Pleasure to meet you, Doc. You can call me Jim. What's the situation?
The Zerg have overwhelmed our planetary defenses. The colony is lost. For the past 12 hours, we've been evacuating people to the nearest starport, but the Zerg attacks have become so intense, we can't get any more through. If you can guard the highway, we can start sending the remaining groups every few minutes.
This is the same.
We'll get your folks through to that
this is the
starport
same
safe
voice
and
actor as
I pray
Liara
you're right,
from
Commander.
Mass Effect.
The Zerg are more terrible than I ever imagined.
And she does a great job playing a doctor. Yeah, we'll get to Monolith, no problem. But we gotta get through here first.
You rang? Must be an emergency.
Say the word.
I got us some fire bats, cowboy. These suckers have got flamethrowers that'll roast the Zerg, but good.
Yeah, there's a little secret here.
Not a problem.
So fire bats
Our
are still
allies
terrible.
are being attacked.
Just saying, fire bats are still awful.
I'll take care of it.
They were terrible before, they're terrible now.
Fueled up.
Ooh, sounds serious. Just relax. Please state the...
Fight fire.
Standing by.
Our allies are being attacked.
They still look very cool, though.
Where does it hurt? I'll take care of it. Must be an emergency. You rang? Not.
Woo! That was close.
Well done.
Need some triage?
Thank goodness you're here. I'll give you control of the main building so you can help us evacuate the colony.
You got my attention.
Let's get up there quick.
SCV ready.
See.
Now, someone had the right idea of building bunkers to defend the roads. Why are they empty?
The Dominion military abandoned them when the Zerg attacked. They didn't give a damn about the colony.
Sorry to hear that, Doc. At least these bunkers are in a good spot. I'll see if we can't get them manned. We'll need to escort the convoys all the way to the main starport for them to have a chance of escaping this planet.
The first convoy from Lark's Crossing will be moving out soon.
Additional supply depots required.
Got him.
Not enough minerals.
Fight fire with
This gateway coming through.
SCV ready.
Alright, I'll grab an SCV for future supply depot creation.
By the numbers, boy.
SCV ready.
Don't stop for anything. Let's roll.
Which is about now.
Armed and ready.
SCV ready.
You play the randomizer version of this?
SCV ready.
That sounds very odd. I love it. There's a lot of different variants of this game with mods and such, and custom campaigns.
SCV ready.
In fact, a lot of people would say that it's the player-generated content that really gives this game its charm. Of which, there's a lot of it. Also, reminder, Starcraft 2 is free. This is free content. This is free, you can play it right now, go play it. It's so good.
What's going on? I can't.
Not
It's
enough
okay.
minerals.
He's fine.
You gonna give me orders?
Yup, he's fine.
Armed? You gonna give me orders?
SCV ready.
Get in the bunker. Get in the bunker right now.
Need some triage? You rang?
Want a PCB, boy? Sure.
Upgrade complete.
Go ahead.
Oh.
my ghost is
Get in there. Start the next upgrade.
Bad news. SCV ready. What's going on? Huh? Who wants some?
Additional supply depots required.
Almost there. So, we have a secondary objective here. Collecting chrysalis data. There are chrysali around the map. We gotta go grab them.
You want a piece of me, boy? SCV ready.
It's a long haul to the starport, partner. How can we be expected to guard the whole thing?
I reckon we can use a mobile force to keep it clear, or build more bunkers to block the approaches. Either way should work.
Yeah, and we can in fact build more
The
bunkers,
next
and we
convoy is
should.
almost ready to go, Commander. Please alert your men.
Gangway, coming through.
And on this particular level, you can play the whole game, the whole campaign. Well, you can play this mission very effectively without using the rest of the map. You can just sit here at your base. You can control from right here. I thought it was pretty cool when I did that. I showed Ellie so that she would remember to use the minimap when I was teaching her. So I can sit here, I can use the select all army hotkey or whatever I want to just click on the map and send them there. They'll grab that item. I can go grab that secondary objective.
Get to the starport! Move it!
I can actually pull back units and then send them back in if I wanted to micro a little bit. It's really, really handy. Sorry about your crops. You don't need them where you're going.
Upgrade complete.
Go grab that quick,
Additional
please.
supply depots required. Additional supply base is under attack.
Got it. Okay. Go stop them. Okay.
SCV ready. I can't build here.
Our allies are being attacked.
Want a piece of me, boy? Convoy's in danger. Hit 'em, boys.
Go get them. Go stop them. Oh, they're being interrupted.
Sweet God.
I see.
The slaughter.
Alright, time to focus.
I can't bear to look.
Go, go. We're not supposed to lose too many. Don't let 20 colonists die.
Go ahead.
Alright, let's get the next ready to go.
Sure thing. I can't build here. By the... You're gonna give me orders? SCV.
Add-on.
Go, go, go!
My goose is getting cooked.
Who wants some?
Okay.
Gangway, coming through.
So this is a reactor, which means that we have 2 Marines producing at once from a single building. Very, very useful.
You want a piece of me, boy? Gangway, coming through.
Actually, not yet. I need to send my units over here to grab the last secondary
Commander,
objective.
another convoy will be heading out soon.
You gonna get...
Not enough minerals.
Go, go, go!
Go get them.
Sure thing.
It's fine.
By the numbers, boys. Who wants
Oh, yeah.
Go, go, go! Huh? Gangway, coming through.
Okay. Build another bunker.
Don't leave without us! I can't build here.
Not enough minerals.
This better be good. It's your... By the numbers. Been waiting on you. Want a piece of me, boy?
The doctor is in.
Put a bunker here.
You gonna give me orders?
And a bunker here.
Been waiting on you. You gonna move us? We could use some help here.
Huh? Where are you going?
Coming through.
Well, fine. You want to get lost? Let's get lost.
That's fine. In the rear with the... This better be good. I can't build here.
There. We got around.
Been waiting on you. Orders. Huh? You're the boss.
Let's grab some more SCVs. Why not? Yeah, over here.
Is under attack.
I can't build here. Outstanding. SCV ready.
Okay.
We hear you.
One here. One more over here. You can go back to mining.
SCV ready.
You should get another reactor.
Been waiting on you. This better be good. SCV ready. You want a piece of me, boy? Need a light.
Yep.
Additional supply depots required.
Supply depots here in front.
Additional supply depots required. Additional supply depots required. Add-on complete.
Go! Ready. Been waiting on this. Better be good.
Actually, I would prefer if I just had Marines in this one.
We have another convoy ready to be escorted, Commander.
Orders?
Okay.
Gangway, coming through. Go! You gonna give me orders? You want a piece of me, boy? Sure. This better be armed and ready. Go!
Get in there.
Don't stop for anything. Let's roll.
Mineral field depleted.
Keep producing. Yeah, I got bored exploring, but I got the objective done. Besides, we'll win anyway. It doesn't matter.
You want a piece of me, boy?
It doesn't matter how many men you lose. It only matters how many you have to replace them.
This by the numbers, boys. Why not? This better be good. You gonna give me orders?
And that is why we win.
The doctor is in.
The colonists are hurting. We gotta save them.
Mineral field depleted.
You want a piece of me, boy? Who wants some? By the numbers. Gangway, coming through. Been waiting. Big job.
Not enough minerals.
No. It was this one. Right here.
Armed and
Gimme.
These are under attack.
who wants some? Huh? Need a light. You gonna give me orders? Looking forward to it. I'm on it.
There.
Not enough minerals.
Alright, I think we win actually. Because we have the patrol command.
Just relax. Is it critical?
Don't get distracted, medics. That SCV cannot be saved.
Ooh.
Not enough minerals.
Do not get distracted from the mission at hand.
Sir, we just detected Zerg organisms entering the upper atmosphere. I can't give you an exact fix, but they're heading your way.
Armed and ready. That's fine. Gangway, coming through.
Not enough minerals.
The next convoy is almost ready to go, Commander. Please alert your men.
Want a piece of me, boy? I am
Okay.
armed and ready. Gangway, coming through.
Standing by.
Mineral field depleted.
Okay. Our boys are on the march, with much bigger armies than I could build in the first game in a reasonable amount of time.
Been waiting on you. Ouch. Go, go, go!
Addition. Not enough minerals.
Just a solid wall of Marines the whole way through. Yeah, try guarding this.
Coming through.
Try attacking this, Zerg.
Additional supply depots required.
Yeah, I don't even have...
Not enough minerals.
I don't even have enough income for that.
We hear you. Yep. Who wants some? Oh, yeah.
But inevitably, we're gonna have our units bunch up around the enemy spawns here.
Zerg attacking the convoy. Let's rock.
Yeah, let's rock. Let's go get them. Go ahead, go get him. It's all on you. Okay. Well, that was easy.
Armed and ready. Go, go, go.
Okay.
Want a piece of me, boy?
You alright? Yep. Yep, that's fine.
Bad news.
Might even bring one of the SCVs up top.
Mineral field depleted.
The Zerg have gotten through. Take them down.
Oh!
Hear me.
Yep, new unit, the Baneling. It morphs from a Zergling, and then it runs at you and explodes. Deals a lot of damage to light units.
Not enough minerals.
Alright.
Who wants some?
We'll wait for a gap, and then send in our units.
Sure. Need a light. Fueled?
Sir, I'm picking up seismic disturbances closing in on your position. I think it's some kind of tunneling, Zerg.
Wonderful. It's just like him to keep things nice and interesting.
Okay.
Bad news.
We're almost done, Commander. Another convoy will be starting out soon.
Yeah, go ahead, send your folks. I love the lighting effects here, and the little ambient effects going on in the background, like the crickets. There is a day-night cycle. It's so cool. Here's a ship as well that we're loading up with colonists.
Is the road safe up ahead? Guess we'll find out.
Mineral field depleted.
Let's get everybody out of here.
Go ahead.
Now the SCVs will join the combat forces.
You're the boss.
Can you just tell the troops to follow the convoy? You can, but they're set to follow, which is a move command. You remember from boot camp? Move command, as opposed to attack command, means that when you're moving to a location, you don't attack enemies on the way. That is an incredibly important lesson that most MOBA players will completely ignore.
It's your dime. Roger.
No, an escort command would only be... I guess it would only be relevant in a campaign mission? Or maybe in a, like a 3v3, I guess.
Base is under attack.
Yeah, but this game was made for 1v1, so... It was made with 1v1 in mind.
That's the last of them. Go! Lift off now!
Under attack.
We've lost the colony, but my people got out alive, thanks to you, Commander.
Yeah, typically we call those control groups. You can have several control groups of units acting as what would you call it? Squads that you can move around in different areas, and they'll stick together. So medics, for example, have that. Medics will move with Marines and will stick next to them. Aha. There was some testing for that in the form of something called platoons, where platoons of units would stick together no matter what and wouldn't be pulled away from their platoon if a unit tried to just grab a couple while the person wasn't looking at them, but I don't think it's panned out the way they wanted it to. Because units would start getting in the way of each other in terms of their pathing, like in Starcraft 1.
Dr. Hansen's offered to stay on with us for now, and I think her skills will be invaluable.
It's hard to believe I'm even here.
Great to have you, Doc.
Because you'd have a bunch of stationary units trying to stick close to your siege tanks, which just makes the siege tanks bigger.
And your science expertise is non-existent. Perhaps I could start there.
Ouch. Well, I guess you might be able to teach Stedman a thing or two. Welcome aboard, Doc.
Yeah. Like, I can see the purpose of it. For a campaign mission, and it could be useful. Because you have the Marines that are already sticking with the convoy as you saw there.
Now, Raynor.
There are 4 of them with each convoy
Looks
that's
like
sent
you're
out.
back in business.
That I am, Mr. Hill. And fighting the Zerg and Dominion all at once is going to take its toll on my standing forces. You got any guns for hire?
But you know the invasion makes it a seller's market right now.
Could be something to look into for Stormgate, which is gonna come up after this game.
So sure, I've got some mercenary contracts you might be interested in.
Don't know if it'll be successful, but everybody's hoping. Stormgate is the spiritual successor to Starcraft and Warcraft. Made by the people who made those games, just for a different studio because Blizzard is terrible. A fighter escort to capital ships? Yeah, that is true. Flying units would move through each other. They don't have collision, so that could work. Fighter escorts are also seen in pro play, especially in TVP, when Protoss goes Colossi, which have a long-ranged attack that deals a lot of damage to clumped-up units like Marines. So having Vikings, which are a flying unit, to snipe Colossi is typically what is recommended. So you keep them... What happens is you put them in the army in the same control group as your other units, and then you make a second control group for just the Vikings. So you have a group of units that are in 2 control groups at the same time. It's either that or you control click on the Vikings mid-combat, but either way you gotta control your units well in pro play. But I can see, yeah. I can see how that might be useful. With having an escort command.
You meet Dr. Hansen yet?
Sure did. I asked that sweet thing if she'd like to give me a physical. No harm in asking, right? I think she's got her eye on some pansy ass, though.
Yeah? Who might that be?
Oh, I don't know. Some white knight kind of guy came charging down to save a colony, maybe? Damn, Jimmy. You never could read the ladies.
Donnie Vermillion.
Only if
UNA.
they're psychic.
We've got Kate Lockwell on remote feed from Agria, a fringe colony. Are you there, Kate?
Uh-oh.
Okay, we seem to be having a sound problem with...
Be okay, Kate.
I'm being told Emperor Mangsk is going to address us directly. Let's take you to his announcement, already in progress.
My finest military minds are being brought to bear, and it's my pleasure to announce that they'll soon be led by the hero of Taurus himself, General Horace Warfield.
Warfield? I thought he retired years ago.
Yes, the famous
And
Warfield.
our finely honed Dominion military under his command, I have every confidence that this new Zerg threat will be contained very soon.
There you have it, viewers. With Warfield in command, the Zerg swarm will be defeated in no time. Up next, Raynor ups his campaign of terror just as the Zerg reappear. Coincidence? You decide after these messages.
Let's get down to business.
Alright. I'm not gonna be getting any upgrades for the fire bats, because I'll spend my money elsewhere. It's not great having a melee unit that has a delay on their attack. Even just their first attack. Okay, but we've got 110,000 credits. And I'm gonna use them on stabilizer med packs. Means that medics heal more efficiently and use less energy per heal. The Stabilizer Med Pack is a new generation of medical nanobot that heals targets more efficiently and can be injected at faster rates. Show your Marines you truly care by outfitting your medics with Stabilizer Med Packs today. Easy peasy.
I've heard a lot about you, Commander. The Dominion always portrayed you as a criminal, terrorist. There's more to you than it seems.
Well, with the Dominion being what it is, someone's got to stand up for the little guy. It sure ain't gonna be Mengsk.
Doesn't seem like the Emperor cares at all. My people from Agria and displaced populations from across the sector have all fled to a refugee staging area on Meinhof. There are reports of violence and disease spreading throughout the camps, but the Emperor's done nothing.
I'll look into it, Doc.
Okay.
It sure felt good rescuing those folks. But there's millions more out there that need help, too.
We can't be everywhere at once, sir. The important thing is that we set an example and gave them hope. Every time we help folks in need, it's another step on the road to a better future.
I know.
Matt Horner is a handsome
It's been 4
man.
years and we're still no closer to bringing Mengsk down. Now with the Zerg back in the mix, your better future needs to hurry up and get here, or there's gonna be no one left to see it.
I love Matt Horner. Anyway. Is there any other conversation that I missed? No? There was, the Zerg little tusks in the corner I can look at. Jimmy, thought you'd like these. They're the winning entry from the Zerg hunt a few years back. Maybe they'll bring you luck. Joey Ray. Owner, proprietor of Joey Ray's Bar on Marsara. Now, you may remember from the intro of Starcraft 1, Joey Ray fucking died in the first volley of Protoss cannons. Over top of, Chowsara. So, how is he alive here? Who knows? I don't know. We'll have more of that as time goes.
Sometimes I still feel like a cop. Only now it's the bad guys that are in charge.
Alright. Yeah, he got better. He walked it off. Alright. You. I got boots and socks, and I'm bringing them home to you. Okay. You know what? I want to make sure if I go windowed full screen, will it stay on screen? Yes. And... oh, okay, well, the sound cuts out anyway. I want the sound to play in background, which is separate from full screen mode. Yes, yes, please, thank you.
Chips, whiskey, Coke, candy,
Flowers. Headstone. Grave. I got a Zerg and a shotgun, and I'm bringing them home to you. That's great. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. I have a splitting headache. I'm gonna go take care of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream, episode 1 of Starcraft, and we will see how accurate Starcraft 2 stays to the original manual of Starcraft 1. It's not. I love Starcraft. I like Starcraft 2 more. I'm gonna go take care of this headache. I'm gonna go lie down, prepare for bed. Next time on Starcraft 2, Wings of Liberty, we're gonna go meet some more friends, and we will unlock the lab for Stepman. Take care, everybody. Have a great evening. Have a great day tomorrow, and we'll do this again. And this time, no more reading. It's gonna be all Starcraft the whole way through. Bye! Love you guys.
Super.